Hey, what's going on, everybody out there? So, I got a little different thing for you here today. Well, I've done it a couple of times, but we're going to take a look at a couple of knives here. We're just going to go through and this is a knife that a friend of mine at work, or a buddy at work, gave to me to take care of. And as you can see here, one of the first things I'm showing you is that the tip of this knife is sticking out of the handle, so you know that's a dangerous thing there. But you can also see the knife itself is just in pretty bad shape. It's been used a lot. It's been rode hard, put away wet, whatever you want to say. But looks like the edge had been ground on or just sharpened a ton. We'll get into the sharpening part of it later, but the edge angle was so bad that I couldn't hit it with my stones. I couldn't find an angle that would allow me to get it. So I'm gonna have to. Didn't want to use my belt sander on this one, but I'm gonna have to just because of the sheer amount of time that it's gonna take to sharpen it. But again, all I'm doing here is I just took these knives out of the my rust solution. I wanted to get them caught up, just get them lubed up a little bit and get them broke free and working better. This knife here, the lockback knife, it opened up fine, but there was some grit and stuff in there, and I worked on getting all that out as best as possible. So here for the next little bit, you'll see me just cleaning these up. And once we get to something a little different, then I will let you know. But right now, it's just a game of cleaning up, and you can see how filthy these things are by the piles of gunk and stuff that I'm getting out with these Q-tips. So I'll be back with you when I've got more to talk about. Alright, so here you're going to see me kind of switch things up a little bit. I'm breaking out some CLP just to really get in there, because this thing just had so much grime and stuff down in there. And right here, so one of the issues, like I said, was that tip sticking out. So what I'm using, I'm just taking my rotary bit, and all I'm doing is I'm just taking that down just a little bit. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, not putting a lot of time on it. It's just a little bit at a time. Here we go. I'll slow it down for you now. Like I said, like you can see, I'm just barely hitting that. All I'm wanting to do is just shave that down just a bit so it sits in there just flush. I just want it to be just right. And as we're about to see, I was able to get that accomplished. So I'm just checking to make sure it's even. Got a good snap down, and look at that. No tip sticking out. It's not sunk down way in there. It's just right where it's supposed to be. That's perfect, as I give you the thumbs up there. So now we're just going through and just doing a little bit more last minute cleaning, and before we break out the sharpener hand just a little bit. But first, we're going to go ahead and, now that we've got that blade sunk in, we'll go ahead and do all of our polishing. I'm going to polish up these bolsters a little bit. First, I tried with some flits just to see if I could get that polished up good enough. The flits wasn't quite getting there, so I broke out my red Jeweler's Rouge or compound, whatever you want to call it. So I broke that out and was able to really get it polished up real well, get it to exactly where I want it. So I'll be back with you whenever we get to something else to talk about. Alright, so one thing I will say here is you're going to see me doing a lot of stuff with the blade of this knife. I typically would not do this on a sharpened knife, so that's why I have not sharpened this knife yet. I've already tested it. It is dull as a butter knife. I have no concerns about, you know, getting cut by the edge. So I am still careful, but just it's not something that I would normally recommend dealing with the blade while it's, you know, while it's sharp, like, you know, like it would be after I got done with it. But here with it being dull, I'm just, you know, yeah, I'm not really that worried about getting cut by it. Alright, it is time to sharpen. So we're going to start off with the medium belt. First, you're going to see me do a paper cut test, which proves that even a butter knife can cut paper if you know what you're doing. So we're starting off with medium, starting off with the medium belt, and I figure out real quick that the medium belt's just not cutting it on this. So switch over to my coarse belt, and you'll see me slowly start cranking up the speed. I get you guys up to a better angle so you can see. I'm trying to get this angle set, trying to see a burr on the other side, and then it's just not happening. So I'm cranking up the speed a little bit more, cranking up the speed a little bit more. Every time you see me pull the knife off of the side there, I'm just putting my fingers on the edge that I'm working with, and just seeing if I'm feeling the heat or if it's too much for me to leave my hands on there. If it gets to the point where it's too much, then I know I need to be careful, because if it's burning me, it might, you know, it's getting to the point where it might be burning that edge. But I don't get to that point because I'm careful and somehow know what I'm doing. So, but here in just a minute, you're going to see me do what I don't like to do, which is change over to my grinding belt. This edge was just so far gone that it took about another 20 minutes or so on my grinding belt to even get it to where it needed to be, and that was with the machine cranked up to about a little over half to 3/4 speed, somewhere between half and 3/4 speed, which I usually don't do, but I'm having to crank that up and take this out. So here in just a moment, you're going to see a switch, but my phone dies, and I don't realize it until way too late. But I'll be talking to you guys here in just a moment. All right. Okay, so I just noticed that my phone turned off. I guess it ran out of power. I don't know where it stopped. I have progressed through all of my belts down to the ultra fine, kind of a buffing belt. So really on the final couple of stages of the sharpening. So I don't know how well that's coming in on this view. So this part here, this is just doing the final edging on the, right now I've got what should be an extremely sharp edge. Well, I didn't take the burrs off, so it's still got the burrs on the side, but it's still extremely sharp. But so we're finished refining it now. I'm trying to be a little quiet, well, as quiet as can be with this dang machine, but everybody's in bed. But yeah, I have no idea when it stopped recording. So alright, so we're gonna fast forward through this. I'm gonna speed this thing up and get it rocking and rolling. And now we're switching over to the stropping belt. So this is just a cloth belt. Putting some more of that red compound on there. I'm just doing light, very, very, very light strokes. across, just very, very, actually almost no pressure at all. And that's it for the sharpening. So now I'm just going to get this, get my desk cleaned up, because I usually put down some paper towels and I didn't this time. So I'm going to get some gloves on, get the blade cleaned off, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, man, did you hear how quiet that paper cut test was? Now here's my real cut test. Clean shaves, one stroke, right off the arm. Get that blade cleaned back up. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of wax on the wood and on the bolsters. And what this does is it just helps prevent fingerprints and stuff. I'm going to talk to y'all about that here in a second on the video as well, but that's all we're doing here, and just taking care of a little bit of last minute touch-up stuff. I just didn't want fingerprints all over the blade, so here we go. Alright guys, I got y'all back down here where y'all are used to being. So here is the final product. Bolsters back to their beautiful nickel. I mean, the thing that I love doing with these, and I know I've already kind of talked about it in the introduction, but a lot of times people will give me a knife, like, okay, the same person, okay? So these are people from work most of the time, but the same guy that gave me this knife gave me this knife. When he handed me this knife, it was, hey, do what you can with it. Sharpen it up and get it back to me. So it's dull, it's, but the springs are still good in it. I mean, it's an old timer, but it's I believe it's a USA made trade. Says Trade USA on it. So I think the foreign made trades have China on them somewhere. Yeah, as far as I can tell, that's an older USA made trade. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about that is, so that knife, when he handed it to me, he just wanted me to sharpen it. Didn't give me really any information on it. He just said sharpen it. When he handed me this knife, I was like, oh, okay. Nice old case, It was rough, as you've seen. It was pretty rough condition. Barely opened. It opened fine, but it was very gritty, very rough. But when I mentioned, I was like, yeah, that's a nice old case. He said, yeah. He said, my wife gave it to me. I think he said, I don't know, it was forever ago. I can't remember if he said 20 years or 30 years or however long ago. I don't remember. But it was a long time ago. His wife gave it to him as an anniversary gift. And you can see by the blade that this thing has been what I would call well loved. This blade is not supposed to be this thin. This blade is supposed to be much, much thicker, especially out here towards the edge. This blade, judging by how much I had to hit it with the belt, and before I even started on this, I checked the angle to see if I could find any kind of angle on it with my stones, and I couldn't. The edge was so, I mean, you see, I rubbed it on my hands without any, but it goes to show you, I think I've already mentioned it too, but it goes to show you that the paper test doesn't show a whole lot, because I was able to slice paper with this knife, but it was as dull as a butter knife. But anyway, this knife meant a lot to him, so when I do these things, I want to keep the history in the knife, like the little micro scratches and stuff like that. I could take this to, I got a big polisher, I could take it to my big polisher and get most of that out, and and get rid of a lot of that character that's built up in the knife, a lot of those memories that this guy has using this blade. You know, like, I mean, this knife, I mean, the blade itself is scratched all to heck. It's beat up. It's been sharpened with an angle grinder, if I had to guess. But now, if you listen, we got a good shut. Oh, sorry about that. The edge is no longer sticking out. So as you've seen, I had to kind of give this part right here a little bit of love. I kept it flat so it doesn't look like I really did anything unless you actually see the grind lines there. But that allows that blade to shut down like it's supposed to. The back spring is still a little weak, but you do still get a little click whenever it opens up. It's been so open and closed many times. I mean, it does have some up and down play in the blade, but the lock is still firm. It still locks in good. I was able to polish up, you know, get the shield polished up good. The wood, as you guys just seen, I put a couple coats of this Flitz gun and rifle wax. So what that'll do is it'll help prevent some fingerprints. It's still going to fingerprint, but it also puts a natural, just kind of a matte coating over the wood. So I polished up the wood as best I could on it. I don't really have a wood polish or anything like that, but I just always like keeping it as rustic as it looks, but give it some, you know, give it some hydration. So that's what that stuff does, is it really soaks in really quickly and gives it a little bit of hydration. But anyway, so I just wanted to share this one with you guys. These other knives that I had in there and the soak, his other knife, I wanted to let it sit in the soak and get, you know, some stuff on it. I got rid of that, so I got rid of some stuff that's on there. I'm going to go through and sharpen these up for him. I'm not going to do another video on that. I mean, you guys have seen me sharpen. So, and same thing with this one. This one's just purely a sharpening. I went through and cleaned it up as best I could. You know, I'm not going to polish it or anything like that. I just wanted to sharpen it up for him. This one here, I did an acid wash on before I put it into the bath. So it's got acid wash blades now. So it's black and white. Kind of, he's a bit of a Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek, Jesus. Sorry, y'all. A bit of a Star Wars person. So it's got this white here. So I figured, why not do a... Now, even when I did the acid wash, I even kind of darkened up the... these were chrome before. Now they're the bolsters. Now they're black. And then this is the knife that my supervisor found in his field. Still a little tight, but it is apparently a Schrade limited edition 2017. So 5 years old, or no, 6 years old now. But I can't speak to anything else on the knife. I don't really know much more about it. It says Schrade 2017 on it. Doesn't say made in China or anything like that. It has 17-25 on there. But I'm pretty sure Schrades were made in China at that time. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Lord, most of the knives I own are made in China, but there's that old timer. So yeah. But so yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that, and I appreciate y'all watching, and we will catch you next time. But just as always, remember to be kind, be humble, and be EDC, guys. I appreciate y'all. Take care.